Well, I should have checked the table before I put it on the air, but that's okay. It's pretty close enough here. I'll have to scoot back. Anyway, thanks for coming, guys. Good show as usual. Scotch for Dummies. Good to see you guys got some coins to use, just like the Scotch test dummies. I'm glad they weren't giving you guys a hard time as far as doing the same kind of thing because, like you said, you whiskey tubers are kind of like a collective where we all support each other. No one's out to try to outdo the other guy that I'm aware of. I don't ever heard of that kind of stuff happening yet. Hopefully, never does. There's definitely enough niches, I guess is the word for it, that people specialize in that do their focus on, and some people they do a little bit of everything, and uh, that's fine too. So, I think there's enough room for lots of different whiskey tubers that it's not going to really affect, someone's ability to make some money to pay for the hobby itself, and everyone can be happy, and everyone gets the knowledge that they're looking for too at the same time. So I'm all for that. Wow, a lot of people already joining the chat. Tamar was first one in. He had to take a quick break, and he's getting a new dram. I wonder what he's pouring. Tamar was pouring a Springbank 12 Burgundy I talked him into. And thankfully, I was very happy that he was satisfied with the dram. The Springbank 12 Burgundy is kind of one of those drams where you love it or hate it. It's extremely assertive. It's got some really strong Burgundy wine cask flavor in there. To me, it reminded me of the New York cheesecake. And I don't think he specifically got that note, but he was enjoying it, and that's really all that matters, Hey, Cato, let's keep drinking. That's right. Loch Ness, thanks for so much. Good to see you, Whiskey Throttle, all the way from, are you still in Moose Jaw, Canada, up there in, I want to say Manitoba. I can't remember if it was Saskatchewan or Manitoba, the province you're in, or Alberta. They all kind of run together in the west there, kind of like Utah and Nebraska and Iowa and all that. But hope you're doing well up there. I'd love to take a visit and go to some parks and operate my radio up there. I'm sure the noise floor is extremely low because there's not a lot of man-made noise to get in the way when you're trying to do radio work. Louise, I'm going to butcher your name, but I'm going to just call you Louise. Thanks so much for coming, man, Jason. I think you might be new to the channel. I can't remember if I've seen you before. If you're not new or if you're new, either way, thanks for stopping by. Oh, Laura, good to see you. The only lady I know that doesn't like crab. That's okay, though. Maybe we can find something else, seafood. Do you like any seafood at all? Is it just shellfish or crab specifically that you don't like? I'm just curious. It's fun too. We were talking about on the Scotch for Dummies, some of the pairings, what goes well with crab, and they were right. I mean, it's hard to find a Scotch that doesn't go with crab. To me, I like peated stuff. I don't mind it as much. I don't like the twangy peat stuff though. Like the Nach Flounder is one that's kind of more the Tumentul peaty tang. Some of those are a little too twangy, lemon, citrusy for me. But the more Ardbeg Lafroig peated stuff with crab or any seafood works pretty well. But I usually tend to stick to, I think Sean was on to something about like a Highland, a really good like basic Glenmorangie, maybe a Quinta Urbana is what I usually have if I go to like an Italian restaurant, or maybe that Glenkinchie 12. I was talking to somebody else earlier about Glenkinchie, if it was a decent offering or not. I mean, it's more floral, it's light. I think it's a lowland. It's not as strong even as a Dalwhinnie 15, which is pretty low on the assertive flavor level, but it's still good. I mean, it's not like it's a bad dram. I'd much rather drink Glenkinchie 12 than a hell of a lot of other things I've had. Mostly grains. I'm not a big grain fan. I don't care what how light it is. Grain will not go with anything for me, so that's a whole other thing. You ordered Louise ordered Uncle Moore. Can't wait to get it here. I mean, I can't wait till you get it too, man. I adore that dram. That was excellent with a capital X. It was awesome. That I still have some, thankfully, but I'm gonna have to like really cherish it and not go near it so it lasts as long as possible, because that one's a pricey bottle for 70 centiliters. I think it comes in like a 70 centiliter. I think it was like about $100, and not even counting the shipping and stuff. So it adds up fast. It's crazy. Glad you came back there, Tom. What did you bring back, Tom? I'm just curious what you segued into after the Springbank 12, and was the finish really good and long? Mine lasted forever. I love that dram. Solitaire, I hope you feel better, man. I know you're off the whiskey tonight because of the earache, but hopefully you can nurture that back into where you can have a couple trams as soon as possible. Triple Cap, good to see you, man. Hey, thanks for talking about Drew, and all the others. I can go on forever. You guys are coming in like hotcakes. It's good, though. We're going to take a look at the this is funny. I wanted to talk about this specifically. Never judge a distillery by its core juice. I mean, it's okay to get an idea of what maybe their ideal their format is. If you have an Ardbeg 10 or Lafroy 10, it's kind of an entry, to see what it's going to be like. But just because you don't like the Ardbeg 10 or hate it even, doesn't mean you're going to not like the Ugadal or the Kortevrekken, the Anno, and other things like Lafroy offers. And it goes for any distillery. The reason I bring this up is we're going to look at the Glenmorangie Astar. And this is going to be my 6th Glenmorangie. My journey with Glenmorangie has been interesting because I got the original, which is their basic core, as a gift from my neighbor, actually. I introduced him to some nice scotch, and he was trying to be nice. He came over one day, and he's like, "Hey, I got this, something for you. It's nothing crazy, but, I never had it. I thought, it can't ever be mad about getting any kind of scotch, even if it's the Scotch Blue Special." Anyway, but I poured it, and I was already into Islay scotches. Never, I've had a Glenlivet, which I thought was pretty good at 12. I've had a Glenfiddich 12 at that point. But they didn't blow my socks off. Well, when I tried the Glenmorangie 10, which is that's their core, I was really not impressed at all. I was like, there was a lot of floral notes in there. It's nice and light, maybe good in the summer. Just not a lot of flavor for me. It was a little bit of vanilla, maybe a little bit of floral, a little bit of honey. But other than that, I mean, might as well be drinking bourbon, a Jack Daniel's Old 7 without the corn is basically, what it would remind me kind of. So at least the corn wasn't there because I don't like the corn, but it just didn't really, do much. And then when I was at an expo, when I was seeing the Scotch 4 dummies, the Glenmorangie people were there, and they had the La Santa, and their core is like the Quinta Bourbon, and of course the original, and one more. I think it's the Nectar Noir. If I could be off, but I think that's their main core that they offer. Not getting into any of their signet or age statements, things like that. So I thought, well, I'll try the La Santa. I like sherry. I already had the Abanon. I thought this might be a good, one to try at least. I didn't have my expectations very high. Well, sure enough, as soon as I sipped it. And I've had the old version, which there was a higher ABV at one point, or that was high and I lowered it. I can't remember which one is which, but both of them have been excellent. La Santa is a great sherry. I don't know if I would go sherry bomb per se, like a Glendronach, or a Abelard 18 or Abanaz, more of a sherry bomb. But the La Santa is just enough in intensity of sherry to keep you interested. Raspberry, strawberry preserves, like breakfast toast with jelly jam out of the gate. I mean, it was great. And then ever since I had that was one of my favorite glasses. And I thought maybe I should go and give Glenmorangie more of a do a tour and see what else they might have that I like. And I had a Quinta Bourbon, and that's more of like a hazelnut toffee. Not as sweet as La Santa, has a little more savoriness in it, but it works pretty well. And I went to the Sale the Spios, and like both of those are all different. The Spios is kind of like a rye. The Tussel is more of an apple Danish strudel kind of thing. And recently, the Scotch Four Dummies did, I think, the Astar. It might have been a while. I know that Andrew was excited about the Missouri Ozarks wood being used for the oak in this, and that's intriguing in itself. I'm originally from Kentucky, but Missouri is kind of a sister state, and I can appreciate the specificity. I can't even say it. The specificness of choosing this this wood for its layering and its properties that give it a specific taste. And since I was such a big fan of the Tussel and the Spios and stuff, I thought, well, this has got to be pretty decent. I snuck a sip earlier. I cheated just to see what I was in for, and I'll tell you, this is good stuff. I do not have any buyer's remorse for this guy. I saw Lee asked about the water. My mom got me this water jug. It's I kind of glimpsed the comment earlier. I'm trying to remember where I saw that. 1 second. Is this which water jug? Oh, it's Lee. Oh, the other Lee. I thought it was the Lee Rayner. She was on the other channel, but yeah, Lee. This is your. My mom got me this. So this is just for you. I brought along a little water, but I promise you, I will not touch your. And I appreciate. I kowtow to you for the MacAllan Fine Oak 21, that's the second bottle we're going to look at. My sample here I've got ready to go. I've been excited about tasting this again. It's a memorable taste, and I will not touch it with water, just for you, my friend. It's 43%, so it'd be kind of sacrilegious to touch it with water. You don't really even need water for this Astar. But this is a higher ABV. It's 52.5. It's white oak, Kyrgyz Alba to be exact, which is European oak, I believe. And let me see. I'm going to bring over some notes just to see if we're missing anything as far as just first fill bourbon barrels, which is always a good thing if you want a nice, tight, strong flavor. It's going to be toasted, lightly charred, and 4 years in this system. Then the bourbon's removed and the barrels are sent to Glenmorangie, where they fill their single malt whiskey to age. There's not an age statement on this. This is from 2017. It's non-chill filtered, and I believe is natural color as well. From my buddy Jason, Whiskey Wise. If you're out there, I appreciate your knowledge sharing with the community. I believe that you were the one that told me about the typically these are going to be natural color on these, which you got to appreciate as well. The only thing I wish there was more of an age statement, but at least I know that they have it in 4 years. If I had to take a guess, that might be a 14, but I could be way off. It might be 4 and 3, which would be 7. Which I guess probably would make more sense, because if it was 14 years, I probably would throw an age statement on it. So I'm thinking this is probably a 7-year-old, if I had to take a guess. Let me know if anyone has any inside knowledge, if that's correct, or if that's if I'm way off. But that's my hypothesis, that this is going to be a 7-year. Oh man, the nose is fantastic, and I've been drinking a lot of different distilleries lately, and I've had some real. I don't want to say train wrecks, but just distilleries that haven't done it for me. And it's finally good to go back and get a nice balanced dram. I don't have to have anything that's super sweet or that's super savory or that's super anything salty, briny, peaty. I just want a nice balance. And even with the absence of sherry, which would probably be my only beef with this, I think they've done a hell of a job on the balance. Because, I mean, you get not only like your typical vanilla honey and like your confection, like your sugar, your fruits. You're gonna get almost like if you could, I know it sounds gross, but if you could think of like powdered sugar in pears somehow combined with vanilla, that's really what I'm getting on the nose, and maybe some nuttiness in there too, which makes it a bit different than the Tussail, which is good because I was afraid it was going to be a lot like it at first. When I first dove in, I thought this reminds me of the Tussail a lot, but after letting it get some air, adding one little drop or two of water, nothing, that's going to kill the flavor. Just open it up a little bit. That really does wonders with this one, at least. And it's because of the room. When you got 52.5%, you've got a little room to play around with a couple drops. It's not going to, But I always go in neat first. What's really nice about this is it separates it from the Tussail, which is more of your apple strudel. This does have spice like cinnamon, the nutmeg, but this more goes like a hybrid with, you take elements of Tussail, but you put it with the Quinta Ruban with the hazelnut and the almonds, and that nice half and half of bitterness and sweetness, right on the right level. You get some walnuts in the finish, but it's not the bitterness doesn't stay long at all. It's a pretty nice mouth coat. I mean, that's medium. I'm not going to go. It's not like a Clynelish or anything where it's really heavy, but you can really approach this neat. You don't really need any water. It does have a bit of a burn on the back end, though. It doesn't overpower me, but I think to get maybe a little bit more flavor, we might do let's do a drop if we can here. Let's see. Just a couple drops. Nothing crazy. No teaspoons, tablespoons, any of that mess. Just a couple little drops. I'm not sure if it's going to bring out more sweetness or more fruit like citrus, but the fruits aren't really citrus. They're more like peaches and pears in this than I don't get oranges or lemons or anything like that. Thankfully, that sugary aspect really balances that out. And all it did was it didn't really take away from the flavor. It just toned down that hotness on the back end a little bitty bit. That's all that couple of drops really did. I still have the great flavor. It's a really nice finish. I'm going to say medium to long, really. And the other Glenmorangies I've had really nice long finishes, pretty much. The La Santa and Quinta Ruban and other ones are very much alike. The only one I have not got into was the original. Now, I did try the Signet, and I will say that, yes, the chocolate roasted notes are nice, but is it worth $180 to $205, $210? I didn't get that. Maybe I need to reapproach it again at some point and see if I have a different experience. Just didn't get into that glass as much as I thought I was going to. So really, out of the series, all of them were great except the bottom and more closer towards the top of what they offer. The middle of the road stuff to me has been outstanding. I love getting some of these private editions that they offer. I've seen the Milchon out there, the Call to Alanta. Someone earlier on the Scotch for Dummies was talking about the Tane, which is and I think another private edition. They've had several, I think at least 9 or so. The Sonalta PX was their first one. Hey, Dram Dude, good to see you, man. So I've only had a couple of them. So I'd love to get my hands on some more of these if they're not too pricey. And thankfully, I found this for about $100. It's not a crazy you know, I mean, for the ABV, you're getting the 52.5 for the rarity, for the non-chill filtering and the natural color, and the overall presentation of flavor, man. I mean, I can't bitch about anything other than I'm guessing at the 7-year statement, which is not really a statement. So, in a nutshell, I'm going to say, well worth it. Balanced, good flavor, nice long finish. I wish there might. The only thing that would make, I think, this any better is if there was some sherry qualities thrown in there as well, which probably would take, a lot more time and age, and you might get more complexity with that. It might not work at all with this type of profile. This Missouri Ozark oakiness is very specific. I haven't quite had anything quite like it. So would sherry work with it is its own kind of question. Definitely had to be something, I think, Oloroso. I think if it was PX, it'd probably be too sweet. It would be too, one-sided. If it was Oloroso, Amontillado, maybe something like that. I wouldn't go Fino. It'd be make it too dry. I'm not a big fan of the dry stuff, so I think that could be an improvement. So I'm going to go, but it's damn good the way it is. 7 years, even if that's not right, or if I'm close, that's not a bad deal. 3 years is your minimum. I'm thinking like a 4.25, I think would be fair out of 5 on this guy. It's definitely a 4, and I'm just wondering, how much should I knock it? 0.25 increments out of 5 for age complexity. I'm thinking 0.75 is a fair assessment. But I would definitely get it again, and I'm going to definitely enjoy this bottle. I've had snuck a dram early, like I said, and I was like, wow, I'm in for a treat. The finish is even developing more into like a salted pretzel chocolate, like a real dark, dry chocolate too at the end, and I am definitely down with that. What you guys drinking tonight? Just curious. I'm glad you got that note. I saw that, Tom, that you said you got the Springbank, the strawberry cheesecake I was talking about. Yeah, it's one of my favorites, man. Papaya on a Springbank 15 the other night. That's one I haven't tried yet, Saltier. I gotta get my hands on a Springbank 15. I need the 15, 18, and 21. That's on my wish list. I've had the 10, 12 cask strength, 12 Burgundy, 13 green, 14 bourbon wood, 19 port cask, and the 10 local barley, and throwing in on the side a Barolo cask Hazelburn, which was really good too. I think I'm more of a Springbank fan than a Hazelburn fan because it does have that nice leathery, slightly peated note, leathery goodness to it that the Hazelburn doesn't have. Never tried a long row. That's on my to-do list, so hopefully I can get my hands on it. I'm just worried that the peat might be a little too funky, but I actually do like a funky peat, like in a Ben Nevis, so maybe it'll work out. Anyone had a long row and liked it or did not like it? Which version, what year, and why? If you don't mind, just let me know. I'm curious. Now for Lee G, are you still around? Oh, he's going to slip along, and but work calls, needs money for the boss. All right, Lee. Well, hopefully you get a chance to watch afterward, and we're going to take a look at your very nice donation here, and relish every little drop of it. I'm just going to pour myself a little sip. This is a delicate wonder. This is exquisite stuff. I'm not saying it's not overpriced, though, and I will talk about that in a second. But yeah, but the Glenmorangie Astar, though, finalizing this deal here. Well done. 90 to 100. It's worth it, every penny, and I can't wait to move on to the next interesting Glenmorangie offering. I'm becoming a fan at minus the original, and I might have to look at the Signet again. That's about it on that one. I need a new glass. Let's see. Thought I had one here. Let me go over here and get another glass. Oh, sorry about that. But you can't ever put, I don't care if the scotch is close or not, I would never put it in the same glass, especially if you're dealing with MacAllan 21 Fine Oak, man. 43%, it's a little low for me. I wish it was 48, but that's the only thing I'm going to complain about on this guy here. And it's not much of a complaint, really. Let me get a little palate cleanser. That finishing out a star is very well done, and it's still going. And if I don't have a palate cleanser, I'll probably be tasting that when I'm trying to taste this, which is not a good thing. Tom likes the red Longrow. I got to try that, though, and definitely Pinot cask is what I have. Huh. Is that a Longrow that you're talking about? The Pinot cask you're talking about there? And yes, NAS Longrow peated is very nice. Huh. Okay, I'll have to definitely, it sounds like I should just get any Longrow I can probably get my hands on. I know there's a couple at least. I'll have to look at my list and see what they have. But I know they have at least a couple. Glen D12. Got to wash out the bartender's malt. The Glen, I'm assuming you're talking about Glendronach 12, Jason. But as far as the bartender's malt, aren't you talking about the Auchentoshan? Are you moving from the Auchentoshan bartender's malt to the Glendronach 12? What did you think about the Auchentoshan bartender's malt? Because I've had that on the radar. I have seen that recently, and I thought about picking it up, but I'm not sure if it's worth it even a try or not, because the lowlands are really not a high priority for me. I do like the 3-wood. I like the American oak, actually, too. I haven't really had anything else. I had an independent bottling of an Auchentoshan 21, but it didn't really do a whole lot for me. So that is the only one that I was kind of like, eh. But the other two are pretty decent. I might have to try the that bartender's malt. What'd you think of it, Jason? Just curious. Tamara, the Longrow Red Fresh Pinot Noir Cask 12-year, 52.9. Wow, that sounds extremely specific. Pinot Noir, that's red wine, and with the Longrow, is it anything like the Burgundy, or is it completely a different red wine type of taste, aftertaste, Tom? I'm just curious. I have a feeling it's completely different. It's probably not as what's the word for it? I don't want to say dark, but maybe deep in flavor. It's probably a little lighter, I'm assuming, with the Pinot Noir, and probably a little more maybe dry, not as rich and full body. Yeah, totally different. I had a feeling that was going to be the case. Not a fan halfway down and still no good. Okay, on the bartender's malt. Yeah, at least it wasn't a crazy expensive bottle. I think I saw that one for like 45, 35, somewhere around there. I'm guessing. I could be off, but at least you didn't have to spend 145 or 135 on it. I would have been pressed on that one if I had to go through that. Just as he said, a few Auchentoshes, and not a fan of any of them. Yeah. The 3-wood I actually did like, because I do like a sweet dram, and that's definitely on the sweet end. And the American oak I thought was just a nice taste. I mean, it wasn't like complex. It wasn't like, you know, not my socks off by any means, but just for a sipper, you know, I think it's on the cheaper end. It's probably $30, $35. If you're tired of Johnny Walker Black, or tired of the Highland Park Magnus, and you just want like a nice cheap sipper, it's probably, it's $60 there. Jesus, man. Let me see. I gotta look this up because I'm just curious if I'm off on the price here. I keep Maryland prices nearby, and sadly, this is starting with B, so I'm wondering if I got a sheet thrown somewhere else. Let me take a quick look and see if I can find what they were charging for it here, because man, $60 is pretty high to not be, you know. Not, I mean, I don't think you should be amazed, but you should at least be, you know, happy about your purchase. I would think if it's above 50. I mean, here we go. Bartender's malt here. Oh, $49.99. So it's $50. About $10 lower, but that's still pretty pricey. I thought it was more towards like the American Oak, which is like $39.99. The 3 was $69.99 here. That's a shame, man. I'm sorry. What didn't you like about it? I'm just curious. Was it just not enough flavor? Was it too much of one thing, like one spectrum of types of flavors? Too dry, too thin? I'm just curious of what you thought as far as what the issue was on that one. Because I mean, it's got a nice presentation. When I saw that bottle, it kind of drew me to it, thinking, "Ooh, this is a little different. This might be interesting." You know, since I did like the American Oak, maybe it'd be worth a try. But that's not always the case. We got less talky, more poury here. Let me get the Fine Oak poured here. Got to let that sucker breathe. It's a big no-no to not let these guys breathe out. I usually typically do it per minute, so my fault on that. But the good news is I've had this before, and I know what it is, and I know what I'm looking for. If I don't get it out of the box now because I didn't let it sit out long enough, doesn't mean I'm gonna ding it on what I know what it's capable of. We'll put it that way. This is from the same bottle, so it should be a similar experience by all roads, whatever. But this is one of my favorites. The only one that I think I might have liked a little more, and I know they're going to think I'm insane. I'm talking about Generously Paul and Lee G, my buddies that I do Scotch reviews sort of with. The Ardbeg 23, the 20 something is the technical name, I think. It's a 23-year-old Ardbeg, and that stuff is like, if angels peed in a glass, that's exactly what it's going to taste like. It's damn good. It's so good. Now, I appreciate this very much. This is more refined. It's more. It's like. It's kind of like talking about the difference between if you're talking about like a painting. Think of like a classic, maybe Matisse or like Salvador Dali, something that's a classic, well-known. You see it, the persistence of time, or whatever that one that has the melted Cyrill clocks on it. You see it, you know exactly what it is right away. It's the masterpiece. It's the Mona Lisa. This is what the Fine Oak 21 is like to me. But not to say that some striking new, up and coming artist that's got a real flashy, heavy, in your face type of painting or art. That's what the Ardbeg 23 is. It's a little more. This might be a little less refined, but the flavors are just like everywhere, and you could pick every little nuance out. And we're going to review that at some point at a different time. But I'm really, that's one of my favorite glasses of all time. I've had the Laphroaig 27. It's good, but it's not as good as the Ardbeg 23. I have to say, that's my favorite bottle I think I've ever had. Yeah, and I've had a few. So it's up there. Anyway, but it's like $600, $500. It's way overpriced. And I'll say it, even though I'm a huge Ardbeg fan, as you can tell by the wall, the prices are just getting out of control on liquid that you drink. I don't see how anything is really worth over a couple $100 maybe for a bottle of something. I know some of these things go to 10, 20, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and people will pay it, but not me. Because I'm here to drink it. I'm not here to sell it, save it, any of that stuff. Oh my! I'm gonna pull up some notes to talk about this guy while we're letting the air out just a little bit more. What makes this great, not just the Fine Oak 21-year age statement. Kind of not happy about the 43, but I got over that quickly. This does have ex-sherry and ex-bourbon, casks involved with this. That right there is music to my ears, because I love a nice marriage of both. I don't like just all one way or the other as much as I do a nice blend of the two. And that's for any distillery, really. This one specifically, the Fine Oak series is aged in a combination of intricate wood finishes. For the 21-year, the single malt whiskey was aged in Spanish oak seasoned with sherry, then American oak seasoned with sherry, and American oak seasoned with bourbon. So that's very specific. The Spanish was with the sherry, and the American oak was the sherry and the bourbon. So that gives it a typical, a certain characteristic. Oh my. It's so well done as far as it's weird because you can detect the delicateness of it and the refinement, but it doesn't mean that it's weak or that it's too light. It's trying to think how to explain that. The smell alone is like, and I think there's like some very subtle peat smoke involved. And it's so old that you're getting almost like, if you can think of opening like a really nice, not like a crappy attic, but like a well-maintained, old school, like from the 1600s, you open the door and it's like an attic that has been well taken care of, and it just smells and with antiques and old wood and complexity. It's tough to put into words, but if you smell an older Scotch, that's what makes people get drawn into it. Is not really the power; it's more the subtle complexity of it. And from the nose alone, I mean, you get. I'm going to throw some crazy notes out there, but it's just first thing that came to my head was a mixture of like chocolate, some like sausages and like gravy in a good way, not a bad way. Some really nice golden delicious apples. Some spice, not cinnamon, maybe more of a nutmeg. Let's see if I'm I mean, you definitely get your typical vanillas and honeys and things like that, but there's citrus going on in there, and it's all so well compacted. It's like taking a ton of flavor and tons and tons of flavor, and then putting it into a dense cube that's only this big. And that's what makes it such a nice glass. Is you only need a half of a dram. You get all these flavors out of it, and that's just on the nose. Not even thinking about the palate yet. Tea and some floral properties. Really nice. Really, really nice. I mean, this is a good bottle, but this is like So well done. The oranges are coming through. Even more so, maybe a little more marmalade. Huh. I can nose that for days, but let's have a sip. Not sure what it is, but just not good. Maybe it's oh, getting some sort of off-putting notes from it. I wonder what it is. I'll have to take a look at it and see if I can pick out what it is that you guys aren't really into on that particular bartender's malt. I'm curious now. Maybe I'll get lucky enough to get a sample without having to buy a whole bottle. That'd be awesome. You'd try another one from them, maybe triple or American oak. Yeah, I would probably stick with the American oak, Jason. Don't go 3 wood unless you really like sweet drams. The American oak is going to be a little more well balanced. It's not going to be an extremely high price. So if you don't like it, end up liking it, it's good for guests, and you're not going to feel like you got cheated out of anything out of it. I know they have some upper age statements like 12, 16, 18 and stuff, but for pricing, I'm not sure if it's worth it. I don't really hear a lot about those glasses, so I probably would definitely see if you can get it on a sample or a gift or something, maybe. Lochner says he's got a couple bottles set for a few months, still enjoy them, but I still finished the bottles, wanted to pour it down the drain, but I went to Dishonor Distillery. Wow, that's pretty harsh, man. That's hardcore to. But no, I've got a bottle just like that back here. It's a Strathmill tin connoisseur's choice, Gordon McPhail independent bottling. Is I have 3. The Glenmorangie I like a lot, and the Glenturret I like a lot. The Strathmill is just something with it, and I think it's some sort of green bean mineral note that just I just can't get through it. And when I do, and I'm with you, Lochner, it's hard for me to just throw something down the sink. I mean, it's just pretty bad. But, so what I do is I try my best to find a way to blend it with something else that will make it better. And sometimes you have to be creative, and sometimes you just have to have the right bottles. If it was me, for you guys, I would always have at least 1 or 2 bottles of a sherry dram that you like. Always have 1 or 2 bottles of a bourbon, like woody type of bottle that you like, because with those 2, if you have something like this Strathmill or a floral bottle like Glenmorangie 12, or if you have something like, if you try to Bowmore 12, some people like it, some people don't. It has like maybe a sulfuric note that you're not into. Sometimes if you get a little sherry or a little bourbon or a little something else with it, it will counteract that off-putting note enough for you to be able to at least enjoy it to an extent. And that's what I've kind of self-taught myself how to do with some of these things. But you got to really think about the qualities of what you're starting with and what your end-game goal is. And when you're dealing with sherry, you never put much in it. It only takes a little sherry, and it only takes a little peat. The bourbon wood stuff, you can put a little more in. You can go 50, 60%. But when you're dealing with the sherry aspects, like an Abelard Abinah or a Glendronach 12 even, and you're mixing it, or if you're mixing like an Ardbeg or a Kalila, always stick with like 10 to 30% maximum, because those flavors are really going to meld with it and almost overpower it if you go above 30%. I'm just telling you from experience that's the way I would look at it. And some fun experimentation, believe it or not, is actually going and buying a bottle of sherry. And because you can get down to the type that you want. There's Amontillado sherry, which is kind of like an almond creamy, middle, not too dry, not too wet sherry. There's Fino sherry, which is ultra dry, acidic, salty. There's Oloroso. There's PX, which is your real super sweet sherry. When you're dealing with sherry, especially if you get a bottle for yourself and you're going to mix it and try to do your own blend, use an eyedropper. And when you go for it, start off with like just a few drops, and then do a little food quick anaconda twist, and then going for the nose and the taste. And if you're like, yeah, it's still not doing it for me, add another, use your eyedropper and add another, squirt of it. Never pour. Even 10% of sherry is going to be way too much. We're talking like 0.2% is what you should be looking for when you're dealing with actual sherry content. It's definitely an art form. It's a science, but it's also art, trying to get it exactly the way. And that's what makes Compass Box so great, is they have played around with stuff so much. They know to take 20-30% of Ardbeg. They'll take 5% of Clynelish 14 or Clynelish or whatever, some sort of form of it. They'll take 0.5% of Daluane or some like specific off-the-wall distillery. And then they'll throw another 30% of Kalila in there. And that's where you get No Name from. I mean, that's a prime example of how these guys do it. And I mean, it's not easy, because everybody would be doing it if it was easy, but you can pull off some like poor man's versions of certain things, like a King Alexander from Dalmore, for example. If you know certain things to blend, you can get the same kind of taste. You just have to play around with, this and a little bit of this and a little bit of this, and maybe, might take you 4 or 5 different bottles. But if you play your cards right and know cheaper versions of what to get for a specific type of taste, and you put it together, you might even come across with a savings that way and still get a similar taste. That can happen. I think I've seen the Whiskey Vault guys do that. I think I was watching, I'm trying to remember which one it was. I mean, I'm sure there's poor man Pappy Van Winkle all over the place, but specifically if you're looking for like a poor man's version of the Lafroig 32 or something, there are recipes out there that you can find that will get you there. Anyway, let's get back to the good stuff here. Oh, man. And the cool thing about this is the longer it sits, it doesn't dissipate. It's not getting aired out too much. It's getting just better and better. Nice Concord grapes in there too. Wow. It's deep. For 43, it's got a lot more flavor than what you would expect from a 43% ABV glass too, which is a big plus. But that's the age, I'm sure, that's doing it. Without that age, the 43 would not be enough. It'd have to be 48, 52, somewhere around there. And I think that's how they get you. It's kind of brilliant that they can do this with the age and charge what they charge for it. I think this is at least, I'm sure it's at least 5, if not 6 or 7. Might even be more than that. I can't remember what he said he paid for it, but it's just insanely high. But it doesn't mean it's not good. I just wish that it was more of a $200 or $300 bottle, because I do kind of put it with the equivalence of Bruichladdich Black Arts 4, for example. Very complex. It's aged up there. I think that Bruichladdich is 23 years old, somewhere around there. So it's a similar age. It just doesn't have that MacAllan name, and I can find a Bruichladdich Black Arts 4 even for like $330 at max. And I'm pretty sure that this one's a lot more than that. So, I know people will go crazy, dinging Dalmore like crazy about their coloring and their thinness of the flavors and stuff, and they'll go off and not be fans of them and charge a boatload of money. But at least with MacAllan, you're not getting the thinness, you're not getting the the crappy coloring. I don't believe. I mean, this is as natural, I think, as a 21 as I've ever seen. I'd be surprised if they put any coloring on something like this. And I mean, even though it's a lower ABV with that age, man, it's. I think if it was a Dalmor, it'd actually be probably charge more for it. To be honest with you, Ace Altier, thanks for sticking by with me, and Loch Ness as well. I think he's saying bye to Altier, but it's very good if you can get your hands on it. I mean, it's out of my price range, as far as being able to sip it on a regular basis, that's for sure. But if you know somebody that knows somebody, kind of thing, and you have a way to get, a friend to get you a sample, or if you get a promotion, have a baby, you're looking for something that's a nice gift. This is something I would definitely be like, hint, hint. This is on my radar. This is on the wish list, the Christmas list, the bar mitzvah list, whatever you follow. It's definitely something I would love to have again. Mm. The finish is really nice too. It's got a lot of toffee, caramel, some mocha notes in there. Very subtle though. Nothing is standing out. It's just really nice, subtle sweetness, little brininess, smokiness is still there. I mean, it's just got it all. I mean, everything that you want is really in this, and that's why I think MacAllan's got onto something with this guy. I just wish you'd make it a little more cheaper, please. Let's see. Loch Ness says, is the regular Ardbeg Grus worth $200 Canadian? Ooh, okay, good question. All right, let me think about this. Now, when the committee release came out, it started out at 120 out of the gate, but of course we all know that Ardbeg didn't produce a lot of it. They had problems with the website. People couldn't order it, and when it hit some stores, it only hit certain stores, and people were pissed because they couldn't find it. And I got lucky to find 2 bottles, one for a friend, one for myself. And I could have bought more, but it's just not worth trying to run some sort of scheme investment crap. And so anyway, it shot up to like $300 or $400 a bottle like a week or 2 after that, because you just couldn't find it anywhere. Now I think it's about the same. I haven't looked at prices recently for the committee. Now the new one, and I have got it sitting up there, just came out. I got mine for 120 American. So 120 American in Canada. I have not done a 120 USD to Canada yet, but it looks like it's worth about 160 Canadian. Taxes, I know, are a whole different story. With Maryland, I have to pay I basically pay 9%, so I have to add the 0.09, to the cost of whatever, and that's really what it is. So even with that tax, you're still well below 200. That's a $40 difference, even with tax. Maybe we'll say $30, $25 difference. But is it good if you can't find it for cheaper? Is it worth it for that? And I'd have to say that if you're looking at it to try to make money off of it, then I'd say it's probably not worth buying it at $200 Canadian. If you could buy it at 150 to 160, then it might be worth trying to resell it later for $300 or $400 Canadian, maybe in a 5 or 6 years. If you're doing it for taste, I'd say it's really close to being worth it, because it is damn good. It's one of the better Ardbeg offerings I've had. I do like. I mean, to me, it's hard because I'm a fanboy for Ardbeg. The only one that I haven't got really heavily into as much is the Perpetuum. It's more closer to like a Lagavulin 8. It's a young breakfast type dram. I love the Dark Cove. I love the Kelpie. I love the Grooves. I love the Kildalton and the Ardbog. I haven't opened my Araviridis yet, and I've heard mixed reactions to that. Um, so that might be another one I might not be, as into like the Perpetuum. The Perpetuum goes for 120 right now, and I would say it's not worth it. If you could find it for $80 to $90, it'd be worth it. So that's the thing. No tax to the LCBO. I really like Ardbeg, but not sure if it's worth the price. The Oogie is about $30 less. So you're getting the Ugadal for 170, it sounds like. That's high too. Let me see something. What's let me look at something. What's one? If it's 170 Canadian for the Ugadal, 1 second. Let me get this cleared out here. 170 US, no, 170 Canadian to USD. I did not do that right. Try that again. 120 Canadian to USD. I am just not able to type tonight. It's just weird. Let me try one more time. 120 Canada to USD. There we go. So $90. Now that's a good price actually if it's 120, but you said 170. That is actually 127. That's high, man. Because you can find Ugadal around here for 190, which would be closer to 120. It sounds like your all's money. So it sounds like everything is a little higher in Canada, which is fine. So with that aspect, if it's if I can get this for 120 here, and it's about, we'll say 25 after tax. I'd say you should pick it up, man. I would, because I would much rather have the Grooves than a hell of a lot of other whiskeys from any distillery. It's on my top. It's definitely my top 10 overall. Even for this year, it's definitely my top 3, if not top 2 for best whiskey of 2018. So I have not opened my limited edition. I'm going off with what I've had for the CR. That's an unopened bottle of the limited edition there. But typically, they do not change the make. They only change the water component of it. There have been some, I think, Perpetuum and some, I want to say, Supernova. They actually did have different makes, different like batches. But when it comes to certain ones like Dark Cove, there wasn't any difference. It was just a water difference. That's what I hear. Kilby actually might be a batch difference, but with the Grooves, I do not know if there was a batch difference, and I don't think there was, but we probably should do a little more research before we have a final say in that. But I'm pretty sure that it's just a water component difference, but the LCBO really screws us over with price for most products. Yeah, that 120 for Ugadal, man, 127 to be exact, is really high. That's like closer to 130, and that's not even counting the tax, if there was tax. So yeah, they're basically getting you for an extra like 30, 40 Canadian dollars than what they should be getting from you, I think, in my opinion, because it should go for about 90 to 100. Corey reckons is like 110 to 120 American. You can get it as low as 100, and so it would be, a lot lower than that. Seems like it'd be like 150, 140 is what the price should be on the Corey reckon even. So, but hopefully it'll get better before it gets worse. It's sad with all these prices. I remember Drew was saying that they were talking about like how marijuana was going to be supposedly like outselling alcohol like by a certain year, and yeah, I mean that's good for us that want to just be able to have affordable prices on the liquor, but I don't know if it'll ever really change because there's always these guys that are looking for reselling and rarity and deals and all that. So it's kind of but thanks for stopping by, everybody. I had a great time as usual. This is going to go with the special samples. Thanks again, Lee. It's excellent, and I didn't touch it with water, so you should be proud of me for 43%. If it was 48 or 50 something, I might have put like a drop, and you probably would have had a heart attack. But it is what it is. But no, this is beautiful stuff. This is like angel tears in a bottle, I'll tell you. And even the Astar, pick it up if you see it. If you see it for under 100, I wouldn't spend more than 110, 120. I have heard recently that people were selling it for a lot higher because of the rarity. But if you do your homework, I bet you could find this for about 90 to 100 bucks and not feel like you've been taken advantage of. Well, so much about, guys, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. I'll try to do maybe a show before next Thursday if I can. It's always nice to get like a Tuesday or a Saturday or something just off the wall if I can do it. But if not, definitely next Thursday. See ya for now, and thanks for giving me any subscribers, any new ones. I'm always thankful. Thumbs up on the video if you get a chance, and see you soon. And thanks a lot for stopping by again, Jason.